already, but I feel like I have this like weird feeling that I'm missing something.
I don't know.
Were we supposed to watch something for this week?
No.
Okay. Like, I have like that weird feeling, like, you know, like you have a dream that like you were like in high school or whatever, or like college, and like you somehow have a class that you weren't supposed to have.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like finals day, and then you realize that like you have to take a final that you didn't, or a class that you didn't know you had.
Well, for me, it's always, it's like nearing the end of the year, and I know the classes that I have, but I've done like none of the work for any of them.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Gets me every time.
Yeah, that's like kind of what I'm feeling right now. I feel like I'm like forgetting something.
No, I mean, I've been watching a lot of stuff, but I didn't explicitly like say anything, so I threw a few like recommendations in the show notes.
Yeah, I feel like I have like a recollection of like me editing something, and like you saying like, yeah, if you want to watch this for next time, and I'm saying like, sure.
No,
like in whatever I edited. Okay.
No.
I'm like I didn't watch it. I didn't see it. I didn't engage with the media.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
We can pretend it was the rehearsal because you put that in the notes
Sure.
anyway, and we both seen it. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, what's up? It's DeadEndRoad Show, episode 66. It's Bill and Ian. We're hanging out. I have a weird cloud of anxiety hanging over me for some reason, and I don't know what that's about. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna jump in. I want to get started with something that, and I say this a lot, and I know I say it a lot, but this might get cut, and it might get cut because I don't know if I could talk about it.
Is this another one of your NDA things?
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't expecting you to actually say yes.
It is. I signed something, and I didn't see anything that said that I couldn't talk about it, but I'll know on Monday for sure if I could talk about it or not.
Well, that's fine, because then that's before this episode is out.
Yeah. So this might get cut. But anyway, let's do a little.
Ooh, that's lower than usual.
Yeah. And this time I didn't fuck it up, so that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna be part of a series of experiments, and these are not part of the serial experiments lane. Just
I don't think anybody was.
Yeah. So it's gonna be part of a university study. For I guess they're looking for like esports something or other.
Doesn't sound like you.
But no, it doesn't. But they're paying, so I'm I'm interested. And I think it's like basically to like measure reaction time for like video game players or something like that.
Okay.
And I have to wear some kind of goggles that they're shipping me.
So it's remote.
And so it's remote. And so those are apparently in the mail coming to me. And I also have to measure what I'm eating and drinking. They want to know that. And then I have to go through some kind of like reaction time program while I'm wearing these goggles.
Do you know like what the purpose of the goggles are, or is that something that they don't tell you?
I think they're to measure, like that's what's going to be measuring the reaction.
Oh, okay.
time?
I thought maybe this was like a new product.
No. It's for nutrition and vision or something. And I'll get a comprehensive nutrition feedback by a registered dietitian and a report on how I compare to professional e-athletes, which that part I don't care about. I care about the money.
Sure.
And I also thought that this would be just a weird experience to talk about on the show.
So what game are you going to be playing?
I don't think it's a game.
Oh.
In the survey, they ask what games you play, and of course, it was just a bunch of shooters. It said what games have you played the most in the past 12 months? And I thought about lying and saying that I played a lot of Overwatch in the last 12 months.
That's not very believable.
Or maybe Fortnite, because those are like the two closest games that I've played in the last
by
12 months. And then
by a lot of Fortnite, you mean maybe a half hour that one time?
We played like maybe 3 hours that
Did
one
we?
weekend.
Was it that long?
Yeah, it was a session.
Okay. It was mostly against AI
session.
bots though, because you were level 1.
That's true. That's true. Well, actually, no, we did start seeing real people because I got killed by Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I feel like you're going to compromise the integrity of this experiment.
No. So then I was like, you know what? I'll be honest. And then so there's a section for other, and so then I did say other, and then I did say Final Fantasy 14. Mm-hmm. So but then it seems that they accepted me so far. I've been accepted as one of the esports athletes, But then they did have a section for rank, and so Final Fantasy XIV does have a ranked PvP, which I haven't touched yet. And so you start out at bronze, and so I was just going to put in bronze, but they wanted a numeric ranking, which isn't how that works in the game, and also like that isn't how it worked in Overwatch either.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure how that would translate, and so I just put 0 because it wouldn't accept any other input. Because like if I put like 12, like like they know I'm lying. Like like I didn't know what number to put.
I think you're going to end up being the control in this experiment.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll see how it goes. I truly don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing, other than the fact that I have to fill out what I'm eating and drinking every day. Oh, and also my urine color. They want to know my urine color.
Weird.
I guess that's how they're measuring. I guess they're measuring like liquid intake that way.
This wasn't weird until just now.
Well, it's not like they're collecting the urine. I'm fine telling them what color my piss is, as long as they don't want it. It's not as weird as Amazon wanting my used toothbrush back. So
yeah.
This is fine.
Okay.
So yeah, on Monday I have to do like a video conference to like if I have any questions or whatever. Oh yeah, so it says my activity tracker and 3D glasses are in the mail. Once they arrive, we'll reach out with more instructions. So yeah, so apparently I'm supposed to do this for like 10 days or something. And I got to fill out a bunch of surveys and shit, and then I get paid at the end of it. So I feel like this is just a weird enough experiment or experience to talk about if I can, and also get paid for it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm just still a little bit confused though. So like you're tracking bodily functions, but like what is there? Are you doing something gaming related?
I believe. Let me really get the first one. Study investigating nutrition and other factors on vision and cognition related to gaming performance in elite and pro gamers, because you know that's me. If you participate in the study, you will receive exclusive training on software used by professional gamers. The NFL Combine, okay, and U.S. Soccer Development Academy, the U.S. Okay, I didn't read the military part. I probably would not have done this if I read the military part. And other professional sports teams and athletes. So I feel like this is going to be some rinky-dink software that just like says that it's going to help with reaction time.
Right. Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Get those Final Fantasy combos in quicker.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So like I feel like this is going to be like keyboard and like or like mouse based, and I use controller for everything. So I feel like I'm going to be like the baseline of this whole.
That's what I meant, like you being the control. So it's like they have something to go off of.
Yeah.
Just the average Joe type of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. I don't know how much I will morph into an elite gamer at the end of these rigorous experiments. But I will keep everyone posted as long as I'm actually allowed to talk about it, which I will confirm on Monday.
Great.
Because I did not see an NDA. I read through the whole thing. So there's that. We got a big ass beautiful cinema, so we might as well get started on that.
That's beautiful cinema.
It's perfect, David. Thank you. You want to talk about the rehearsal?
Yeah, I've wanted to return to this because we did talk about it after the first episode aired, and I feel like it was very different from what our expectations were.
Yes.
After that first episode.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely worth returning to here.
Yes. And I think for this one, we will definitely be going into some heavy spoilers.
Yeah.
Compared to the first time. So I would highly recommend anybody that's listening that has not seen the rehearsal to please, for God's sake, watch the rehearsal.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's amazing. Our expectations were easily subverted, where we thought that this would sort of be a after the first episode, a Nathan For You, where he would be taking on, sort of one task per episode, where this quickly morphed into this is a season-long arc, Yeah,
it was a lot more high concept than we thought it would be.
Oh yeah. We talk about layers a lot. I can't even count the layers.
No, it really does get out of hand in a very good way.
Yeah. I don't even. So the final episode, I don't even know where to go. But the final episode turns into such a surreal, like, nightmare fever dream of like actual performance art.
Yeah. He becomes like entangled in this web that he's created of trying to like weave through different perspectives and figure out like where he's gone wrong or what he could change regarding like his parenting skills and
not only his parenting skills, but also his approach to the show.
To the show itself, yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah, I think there was a voiceover. I don't know if it was the final episode. It might have been the one before, but there's a voiceover that he does in between scenes that he just says, like, what am I even doing?
Yeah. Like the moment where I actually audibly gasped was whenever he uses the aging mirror that he has installed in the house, and he has turned himself into the mother of the child actor. I gasped. I actually gasped.
Yeah.
Like the fact, and then he turns the other child actor into that other child actor.
Yes, it's so funny too because that kid, the older one of the two, was so composed and professional.
Yeah, it's so weird seeing like these like child actors acting like
adults, basically.
Adult actors.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
But this kid like was so much had like his head on straight and ended up being so perfect for the madness that he was put through here.
Yeah, because then he's like going through, he's like, how could I have so like the child actor that's playing like the youngest toddler version of his fake son.
Yeah.
The actor becomes attached to him.
Yeah, because the actor doesn't have he just has his mother. She's a single mother.
Yeah, she's a single mom, and he never knew his dad, and so he was not properly like explained what was going on. He didn't really know that he was acting, basically. And so he was told that this guy is his dad, and so that's what he thought, basically. And so he became very attached to Nathan as his dad, and that carried on even though after he had to leave. And so Nathan is trying to go through like these rehearsal scenarios of how he could have avoided the kid becoming attached to him and what he could have done. And so he does like a rehearsal where he's like cold and distant to the kid. But of course, the kid is now being played by a different actor who is playing that kid actor playing his fake son.
Yeah. This is what we mean by layers and layers of.
Yeah. And then he's like, okay, well, what if I don't use child actors whatsoever?
Oh, God.
And so then now I'm using a teenager. And he's like, no, that's like too close. It's still a kid. Now, what if I use an adult?
I think the funniest moment maybe of the entire series was when you see that adult smoking a cigarette outside.
Yes. And the voiceover is like, I felt kind of uncomfortable when I realized that I was living with another man.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, no actors. Now I'm going to use a dummy as the kid. And then he's just like rolling around and playing with a mannequin. It's like, oh my God, it gets so surreal and creepy. It's like, so what I wanted to mention is that like, I felt this early on, but he really cements this by the end. Is like, this feels like such a true successor to the movie The Truman Show, which is one of my favorite fucking movies.
Okay.
Where like, and that was like a fictional movie, right? You know, it was a scripted dramedy, right?
Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Jim Carrey. What's his face from Westworld?
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris, thank you. Fantastic. I fucking love that movie. It's one of my favorites. Where it's if nobody knows what The Truman Show is, the conceit is that a production company basically adopts an infant, like a baby, like out of the womb, basically, and raises him on camera throughout his entire life in a soundstage set, and he believes that is his reality. That's his life. He lives in a town called Sea Haven, but everyone around him, they're all actors from childhood all the way through adulthood. All his friends, all his neighbors, everybody that he meets, they're all actors. Everything's a set, but he is none the wiser. And every movement, it's a 24-hour broadcast that's just his life. It's The Truman Show, and that's what the movie's about. And this feels like the actual successor to it. This is like the modern day version of this. And just the approach and the like deconstruction of like, it's a deconstruction of reality TV, but also of like making reality TV and like the exploitative nature of reality TV.
Yeah.
But rather like where the Truman Show focused on like the humanity of what this would do to like somebody that was put in this situation, like raised in this bubble. This sort of focuses on like what would you do, like the production side of it, you know? And it's just fucking genius.
Yeah.
Like to like place yourself into the narrative of the show that you're making.
And make it seem organic too, because it seemed like it wasn't planned from the start, you know?
Right.
At least
the
as
way
far
that he
as like
inserts
it's
himself.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because at that point, a lot of it, because like sure in that finale he's sort of untangling the like mess he's made with this kid and like the impact with, you know, real families and people. But he's also like, it seems like he's trying to figure out a lot internally too, because he's grappling like in the previous episode, which I think the penultimate was probably my favorite, where he's grappling with religion and his parents are involved. And then in the finale, it's the whole parenting aspect. And like, it's almost like he's trying to figure out a lot about himself too, as like a potential like parent, or maybe like the choices that he never made or hasn't yet made in his life, right?
Yeah, like you see this with like there's a theme of mirrors here. Like he sets up this aging mirror, right? For one, the comedic effect of that and the impracticality of having this high-tech fucking thing, the Snapchat ass filter thing installed in a house, but then to like look at yourself from the perspective of like, you know, a time warp. But then he also wants to interact with himself outside of his own body through the fake Nathan that he employs.
That's one of the Safdie brothers, isn't it?
Is it really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just so like the way that he wants to interact like with himself outside of his own body, like he wants that other perspective on himself, and like there's the scene where he is the boy's mother now, watching the fake filming with the fake Nathan and the other fake kid, and then there's the production assistant who says to him as the mother, guy's kind of weird, isn't he? You know, and there's like that, he doesn't know how to react to that. And it seems like he doesn't know how to react to that as Nathan, not as the mother.
Right. Even though that was a scripted line.
Even though that was a scripted line that he had to have written. But he like doesn't know what to do with that. And so like he wants this perspective. And you saw it earlier on with the fake Nathan, whenever he pretended to be the guy in the acting class. And that whole
the apartment bit was
circle.
Amazing.
Oh my god, yeah. Just yeah.
But yeah, for as great as the finale was, the second to last episode, the way that ended,
oh my god,
honestly kept me up at night. Because like you have this woman who so basically the setup is that the person he's co-parenting with, Angela, is very Christian, and sort of like her worldview sort of revolves around her like belief system, and like she's very rigid when it comes to that. Yeah. And so Nathan is Jewish, and so he is trying to have some like agency in the dynamic of like them bringing up this child, and like seeing if he can incorporate some of his own beliefs. Like he basically wants to like I
do like that the real purpose for that was that he sort of explains that he was seeing patterns
in his own
in relationships that he has. Where like he just allows his partner to do whatever.
He's very passive.
And so he was like, okay, well, the religion thing, this is the one where I'm going to push back.
Yes.
was the religion thing, and I'm going to try to raise this fake child with both Christianity and Judaism.
Yeah.
as the sticking point here.
He saw himself as like a pushover in relationships. He was not able to speak up about what he wanted. And so he's asking Angela to compromise here, and she refuses. And so he takes the kid and pretends that they're going to like swimming lessons or whatever, and he brings the kid to like this teacher, this instructor.
I think he says Jewish tutor, which is a hell of a
phrasing. It is, yeah, Jewish tutor. And so he tells her about the situation. And so he brings the Jewish tutor back to their home, and she confronts Angela, and the Jewish tutor calls her an anti-Semite.
Almost immediately, she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna like push back against this. I want to stand up for this boy who should be Jewish." And then she like sort of folds like immediately.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Because like she points out Angela's like religious bigotry, right? Yeah. And so for a little while you sort of see her as like a good person for that. But then Nathan is not going to leave it there, because at the end of the episode, the final scene, they're having a conversation with one another, the Jewish tutor and Nathan, but this is out of character, right? This is like as themselves. Well, I guess she's always as herself. Right?
She's always as herself. I think Nathan's just there.
But yeah, so they're talking, and she's like, you have a platform, you need to support Israel against Palestine.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and then she's like, what do you think about the Palestine problem?
And she's listing off how great Israel is and all this propaganda. Yeah. And it's wild, because here she is a few minutes ago calling out religious bigotry, and then you see her shortly after that being a bigot herself. And it's like, so the end result here is that, like, what is the end result here? It's just how...
how they can find these people is just...
I know, it's amazing. It really makes me question, like, how much of it truly was organic, but it doesn't matter in the end. But
well, at the same time, like an older Jewish woman, who's like teaching, I don't know if she was teaching Hebrew or just like, scripture or whatever, probably has those beliefs.
Yeah, no, it's believable for sure.
Like, but then just like leave the camera rolling and just let her fucking talk.
Yeah,
you're gonna get something like that. But yeah, it was, I had my hands on my head. I was like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I was thinking a lot about that after I watched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what the show will do. It'll just leave you in a place and make you sort of like, I don't know, just like figure out what went wrong, or like he was doing himself, right?
Right.
Because like, I think some of the criticism for the show early on, especially, was like, and I guess this comes with Nathan's work in general, is like the people that he brings onto the show, is he making fun of them? And there's a moment, I think, during the same episode where he's talking with Angela, or an actor portraying Angela. So he scripted the scenario, and he tackles this criticism head on, because she says, the fake Angela says to him, she's like, you don't care about me, you're just using me for comedy, right? And he's like, no, that's not what this is. Like, the scenarios themselves are silly, but I'm not making fun of any people that are on the show. It's the scenarios, but it's serious as much as it is funny. Which I think is true, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's exploring a lot with these characters and people, and he is, like you said, letting the camera roll. And if they say stuff, but he's not like explicitly trying to like exploit them, or at least not consciously trying to, right? Because he's grappling with that after Angela leaves. He's like, could I have incorporated her more into the directing process? Or could I have, like she says, like, we could have been collaborators. Like, I could have worked more closely with you, but instead you didn't like clue me in on anything that was going on. You kept me at a distance. I don't know. I just thought that was also fascinating that he would tackle that head on, because I'd seen people, I think there was even a New Yorker article that was like pretty harsh on the show, and was talking about that exact thing, about how Nathan is like treating his subjects, sort of the lens that he's looking at them through. But I think if anything, like, he is doing to them what he's doing to himself.
Right. This time he directly puts himself under the same microscope.
Yes, very much so.
Like, completely. Before he was on the periphery, and you could get glimpses of that. but by inserting himself, and he still does have more control over it than they do.
Mm-hmm. But he acknowledges that at every turn.
Yeah, exactly.
The moment he's getting frustrated with Angela during the religious conversation, and so after she refuses to compromise, he's like, well, I'm the director of this show, and so this child is going to learn the religion that I want him to learn. And that's like a moment where he like sort of like is combating himself and what he wants the show to be, which I thought was really funny. Yeah, there's so much here. It was really something else to watch, and it's gotten picked up for a second season, which is very exciting.
It has, and so that was a relief, right? That happens like either the same day or like around the same time as like the finale. And I hope that continues. Like I hope that nothing changes there, you know, with all that's fucking going on in HBO.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like bad news after bad news out of there. So yeah, hope to God we get more, because I have no fucking idea what he's gonna do next. Yeah,
that's what's so exciting about it. Even after all we've seen here, it's who knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this has been like a relative success for them. I think it's been one of those like word of mouth shows, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I do want to touch on another finale, but this will be spoiler free because I know you haven't seen it. I do want to talk about Better Call Saul, and I will talk about this in a very general sense. So Better Call Saul ended last week, but it gave me a very strange feeling watching the finale. And it sort of gave me a very like empty and hollow feeling, and I don't think it was in a necessarily intended sense.
Oh, interesting.
Where like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, now this is a piece of something that's missing now that the show's over. I that's not the same like kind of feeling that I got. It's hard to describe.
Well, you had mentioned to me that a few weeks before the finale, one of the earlier episodes felt like it could have been, right?
Yes. So, again, no specifics, but this kind of has a similar formatting in the loosest sense to what Breaking Bad did, where there was like a buildup, a climax, something happens, and then we sort of have an epilogue. It's similar in that way.
How many episodes are the epilogue? Is it like 3 like Breaking Bad was?
I would have to. It might be like 4 or 5.
Oh wow, okay.
Maybe. I'm bad with numbers.
Yeah.
I would have to open up my Plex. I don't know if the epilogue was needed. Like I don't know what I got out of it, if anything.
Okay, that's unfortunate because the epilogue in Breaking Bad is outstanding.
Right. I just have like this weird sense about it where it's like when I think back on Better Call Saul, I'm not going to think back on this epilogue. I don't think.
Okay.
I'm not going to think back on this finale. And the thing is like I don't think it was bad, except for one thing was bad, I think.
Okay.
It falls into one finale trap that a lot of shows do, which I thought that they were going to avoid, but they kind of do it. And again, I'm trying to be as completely general as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But like, it just gave me like this weird, like what are we doing here kind of feeling. Like, why are we watching this part?
Oh, man,
kind of feeling. Like, I don't know. It was very strange. What I would have liked to see, and again, gonna be super general, was slightly more build-up between that final episode to me that felt like that ending, like the actual finale moment. I would have liked more build-up there.
Like beforehand?
Beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Rather than this whole epilogue kind of thing. I think this epilogue could have been compressed if we were still going to do it. Yeah, I don't know.
That might be the most interesting thing because from the 4, I think, seasons of the show that I've seen, they have never sped through anything. You know, they've taken no shortcuts, or if that's what you're implying when it comes to more build-up.
It does kind of feel like a shortcut. It kind of does.
And that's just like goes against the show's identity for so long, right?
Yes. It's like it sort of just makes you like take an assumption all of a sudden.
Okay.
When this show was never really about taking assumptions.
No, it was always
about
granular.
showing. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It seems like people really liked it. You know, I feel like I'm in the minority, like the tiny minority. But that's probably just because the standards for this show, they're like so fucking high.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you're grading on a very different scale than you would with most TV.
Yes. So like I said, like looking back on the show, I don't think I'm gonna think of the epilogue, and I don't think I'm gonna think of the final episode. Which you can't say the same for Breaking Bad. It's tough to compare. They're totally different shows. They really are. But like you remember the Breaking Bad finale.
Yes.
Even looking back though, that still has some problems, like Walt taking out an automated, science machine gun is like, okay, right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Better Call Saul needed like an explosive, guns blazing finale. That's the farthest thing that I wanted. But I don't know. Something makes me feel a little hollow with the way it ended. But maybe looking, feelings will change when I think more on it.
Yeah.
It was a few days ago that I watched it. I've been trying to formulate my thoughts since.
I'll be honest. When it comes to series finales, I've always been skeptical of anybody's opinions because I am like the biggest Lost fan ever.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that you're wrong or anything, but that's just like I always have to see it to believe it, so to speak,
Sure. Well, of course, yeah.
Feels like finales are the most subjective thing in a medium that is itself quite subjective to begin with, but it seems like finales...
It's tough to do.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to please everyone?
Yeah, true.
And how is it not going to feel like fan service, if you do certain things? I feel like they had a tough task. I feel like they almost pretty much nailed it the first go around. And then we get this sort of epilogue kind of thing, which it's there.
Okay, it's there if you want.
I feel like maybe some restructuring. Like here's the thing. I will say it's kind of experimental.
Oh, all right.
Like they take a swing. They really do, which major credit for that. It is not safe.
That's good.
So yeah, so like, there's that going for it. And I don't hate it, but it just gives me this weird feeling that I can't quite place just yet.
Yeah,
so,
I'm gonna catch up. I know I've said that a number of times. I'm gonna catch up. It's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I need to watch that.
Yeah.
But they're very weird about, because now so the episodes were on AMC Plus, which I have. But they go away very quickly, and then they're just like in limbo until they end up on Netflix eventually.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
It's just easier to pirate. Like it really is.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Like especially like when you already have access to the shit, and then like you don't even feel bad about it. Like
yeah.
Because like that's the same with my parents. Like it's the same thing where they kind of they were caught up and then they weren't anymore. And so then they lost access to episodes that they technically already pay for. And it's like, well, hey, I already have them on the Plex server. So there you go. You have access again. Like you already pay for this stuff. You shouldn't lose temporary access to them. Like it's so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, I did want to mention this one thing. So we mentioned Lars and the Real Girl during our live show last week. And during the outright just sickening vibes of what I was witnessing with the TikToks that you were showing me with the guy and his lady friend.
I was weirded out by the TikToks, but what really got me was the Amazon wish list.
The wish list was really bad.
Yeah.
That was really bad. But I forgot that I have a Lars and the Real Girl story that I forgot to tell during the live show.
Have you seen the movie? I watched it for the first time last year.
I've all right, so let me talk about it. So back in the days of the Xbox 360 and the HD DVD hard drive accessory for the Xbox 360, this was like whenever like buying movies on a device was like a new thing,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, hey, like with the family, we should, pick a movie and, buy it and watch it. And so we're looking through.
Oh, no.
And then we see, and I see this movie called Lars and the Real Girl.
Oh, not for family night.
and we thought it was a comedy.
Oh, no.
Like this guy brings a sex doll to like Thanksgiving.
Yeah, sure.
And so we thought it was a comedy. And so we're like, okay, yeah, sure. But at the time, we didn't realize how big like HD movies were, and like the Wi-Fi signal to the family room where the Xbox was really bad. And so it said that we pay for it, and it said that it was going to take like 30 hours to download.
Terrific.
And so that was movie night was not happening.
That's for the best.
And so we're like arguing, or like, oh, what the fuck are we going to, all this shit. And so like, I guess we're going to watch it tomorrow, And so then, we keep it downloading in the background. And then we check up on it the next day. It's like, okay, download. All right, fine. All right, let's go. We sit down to watch it. And we quickly realized that this was not a comedy.
No.
This was not a comedy. And I think we made it maybe 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a great film. Gosling is incredible in it, but it is not the family night pick.
Yeah. Yeah, not at all.
That's amazing. You should watch it one of these days though, for real. Okay. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
For a while, it was one of those films that I guess like I don't know, it had to do with the rights, but it was on like every single streaming service.
Yeah, yeah.
But I only got around to seeing it finally last year.
Yeah, but yeah, we really thought it was a comedy. We thought it was going to be like a sort of like a Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I feel the movie poster, if I remember right, it's just Goss sitting next to the doll, and it has that kind of energy to it.
Yeah.
But no, this is this is like some bleak shit where it's like the lonely dude in the dead of winter, and his family's concerned about him, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think my parents were concerned for me after that. Mm-hmm. But it might have even been mistagged like on the Xbox store as like a comedy.
Oh, that's not surprising at all.
Yeah.
I've seen some wild misreads when it comes to the store's tags on different stuff.
Yeah, but back in the days of 2006, it was
the Wild West out there.
Yep. So that's my Lars and the Real Girl.
So did you just like leave the console on for a day and a half to download?
Yeah. There was no rest mode back then.
Oh, man.
It was spinning. The hard drive was spinning the whole time. Yeah. So that was back even. So like it didn't even have its own Wi-Fi. It was like a Wi-Fi adapter. Like that's how old that shit was.
Wow.
It didn't even have its own wireless like card built in. Attached to the HD DVD player that we used once to watch. I think it was Peter Jackson's King Kong that came with it.
Okay. Also, probably not a favorite of yours.
No, it really wasn't. It really wasn't. We actually sold that thing at a yard sale. Like probably the last yard sale pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. Somebody finally bought that fucking thing. I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but
did it still have Lars and the Real Girl downloaded?
I think like if it's not attached to the Xbox, it doesn't have the account name.
Right. Yeah.
God. Anyway.
Yeah.
Speaking of popular media,
mm-hmm.
So is it time for you to give me shit or?
Yeah, I think so. We did the Irma Vep episode recently, but what I initially wanted to do was to do House of the Dragon as like a standalone thing, thinking that it would be one of the more popular shows on TV this year. And your response to that was like, nobody's going to watch that. Nobody wants to watch Game of Thrones in 2022. And then, of course, it has 10 million viewers in the first like day and is the biggest series premiere in HBO history. So what can you do?
In my defense, I still don't see anybody talking about it.
Well, maybe you've like curated your online experience to avoid Game of Thrones.
But I follow like tons of media people.
Yeah. I mean, there's think pieces and reviews and recaps and all sorts of articles that I've seen.
I guess. And so here's the other thing. So I looked up that figure. So that's half of what the Game of Thrones finale got.
Sure.
Pretty bad.
Well, half ever? Because this was just after like the first day. This is like Monday after the Sunday premiere. Maybe Tuesday.
That was half of the first day viewing.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that is a drop off. It's still decent numbers though. Like, I mean, somebody on Twitter I saw, they were like, congratulations on having 1/3 of the viewership of Home Improvement had in the 90s, right? So it's all relative.
Wait, shit.
There you go.
I forgot I had that button. Fuck.
But I think the real headline here, though, is that this premiere of Game of Thrones in the year 2022 is pretty damn good.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it was good. It's definitely more Game of Thrones. You will not turn this on and mistake it for anything other than Game of Thrones. But I think the good thing here and the promising thing is that it feels more like early Game of Thrones than it does later.
Okay.
I didn't know just how willing I was to jump back into this world again.
Yeah.
I guess I should say, like, I think we were both kind of on the same page when it comes to the original series, where like those first 3 seasons are like classics, right? They're terrific. And then from there, like 4 and 5 are very good, but they're a little uneven. And then the final, was it like 6, 7, and 8? I think there's 8. Really just like kind of falls off a cliff for the most part. Like there are moments in those later seasons that are, and individual episodes that are very good. Like you have the Hodor thing, and you have certain I love the Hodor episode. That was and there's individual like moments that are great, but for the most part they sort of lose a handle on the show. This premiere of House of the Dragon I liked a lot. It was very focused. The entire episode takes place in King's Landing. A lot of palace intrigue, the stuff that I like most about Game of Thrones. Really great actors across the board. Interesting, like, so there was not the best PR heading into this, because there was mention, like some people involved mentioned how there'd be lots of violence against women and I guess like sexual assault and stuff, right?
Yeah, there's going to be less sex scenes, but we have to include the rape.
That's what it was. So that's not what you want to hear, especially when Game of Thrones really failed. It's doing its part when portraying sexual assault and the purposes it was doing it for, and the characters. That were involved with that. It was just kind of poorly handled, right? This show, to say the least, this show is taking a different approach, and I haven't completely, like, it's only been 1 episode, so time will tell.
Sure.
It's definitely very intentional with what it's trying to say and do regarding women in Westeros, in this world here. I don't know, like, how specific I should get in terms of like plot details and stuff.
Well, I mean, everybody's already seen it apparently. So
yeah. So there's a scene about halfway through the episode that is, I think, ranks among the more violent and sort of horrifying scenes in the history of Game of Thrones, which is saying a lot. Considering what's come before. But yeah, basically there's this tournament that's being held. It's like hyper violent. You're like ground level with these like knights that are like trying to like murder each other. And that is intertwined with a birth sequence that has to result in a decision being made. So basically the queen is giving birth and the king needs an heir because he's never had a son, and that's like an urgent matter for him. And so this is like very important for him, and he's faced with a decision because the birth is not going well, that he can either risk losing the child or he can have them perform what is a like medieval like C-section that will end up killing his wife, right? And so it's horrifying, and they really don't pull any punches here, and they go through with it, and it's brutal, and she dies from it. Before this, one of the only lines of dialogue the queen has is she's talking to her daughter, and she's like, basically says, the womb is our battlefields, referring to like how like her purpose has been to provide an heir, and she's really had like no agency when it comes to her own body and all of that, right?
I think that was Pat Benatar, right?
I have no idea what that reference is.
Love is a battle. All right.
Okay, sure. So they're framing this as like the director, Michael Sapochnik, made a comment basically like relating it to abortion rights. Not that it was like a direct comparison, but it's like something that he had in mind during the process.
No, though.
I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that what could be viewed as like gratuitous violence and kind of like violence for the sake of it. But from the show's perspective, they are trying to have like intention intention behind the violence, which a lot of the times in Game of Thrones they were lacking, right? So like another example, there's when the Hand of the King is Lord something Hightower, and so after the king's wife has passed away and he is still left without an heir, there's this big question of succession that's sort of launching the main conflict of the series. Yeah, and so
it's kind of like a Game of Thrones.
You could say.
You know?
You could say.
Yeah.
I'm really not trying to get in the weeds here. There's probably a more succinct way of making the point I'm trying to make. Anyway, Lord Hightower sees an opportunity to have his daughter go in and comfort the king in his time of grieving. Okay, it's very, very disgusting. It's very transparent what his intentions are. It's very clear to the viewer what his intentions are, and also to his daughter herself, because you can see it on her face. He's like, go visit his chambers and make him feel better. But that leads to my favorite scene of the episode, because his daughter goes into his chambers with this book, and she's basically trying to like relate to him through this like important book that she loves, and like they have this really nice moment, this like bonding moment that is not sexual whatsoever. It's like sort of subverting what would usually happen, right?
Well, Game of Thrones did that too in the early seasons.
Okay. Of course, that moment you don't really have much time to sit with it, because it cuts immediately to this big orgy that's happening.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So that's a little like I feel like that was intentional as well. It's like this, you know, this world is not going to cater much to this type of moment. But again, it does feel like they are sort of approaching women and girls in this world from a more conscious place. Now, I don't know how effective that's going to be long term, because like the queen who dies in this episode, like her character existed essentially to die, right? So if you're not going to have the female characters at the forefront of the show while you're tackling these issues,
well, is she gonna be like a Ned Stark, where she's, you know, this lingering presence though?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there's a third distinct moment in the show towards the end, where the king's daughter, who is a main character, she has been sort of passed aside as a potential heir just on account of being a girl. But the king is realizing that he has little options at this point. And so he pulls her aside and basically tells her his intention to make her the heir to the throne. And her response, and he goes off on this like whole monologue about the importance of it and the power and yada yada yada, and her reaction is like, these are the first words you've spoken to me since my mom died. Nice. Yeah, and it's like that was a great line, because it's like it shows how these like people in power are so like power hungry and so like focus solely on their like duty and the throne and the heirs and the Game of Thrones, as you say. It's like they forget about the human element, right? Yeah. So it's like he has this immediate like willingness to move on. Like they shortly after the funeral for the wife, the council has a meeting with the king, and they are like, okay, what's next? You know? So there's that like business as usual, we have to move on from this sort of mentality. But as that line shows, there's also a fighting back against that. So that makes me think that, I don't know, it just feels more thoughtful on like a character level, on like a moment to moment, like dialogue level. It just feels more thoughtful than especially later Game of Thrones was in a lot of ways.
Right.
I don't know if any of this is making sense, but
no, it does.
I don't know. It was a focused, intentional hour of TV that has me hopeful that this could be good, basically.
So what you're saying is that characters aren't teleporting across the world map.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
it's not just fights happening for no reason, not just extended sequences of the Mountain and the Hound fighting each other, Darth Vader style. It's just, you know, characters interacting and talking and vying for their goals.
Yes.
Through twisted diplomacy and, everything else.
Which is what Game of Thrones started out as. And it's what this show is starting out as. And I don't know, time will tell how that ends up, but I am going to be watching.
Okay.
Yeah. I also really like this. Like, there's some really small details. Like, when people go and sit on the Iron Throne, they cut themselves because it's very sharp.
Fucking finally.
So that was funny and great. And, like, so the king's daughter, she goes out dragon riding and she comes back and the king's like, where were you? And she like lies about it. And he's like, well, I know where you were because you reek of dragon. Right. So like, it's a very, it's like they use like the senses to sort of bring out the world. Like there's world building through just like seemingly mundane details, which I appreciate. I thought that was really cool.
I don't want to be like, well, the books, but like one of the biggest details about the Iron Throne in the books was that it was fucking uncomfortable to sit on.
There you go.
It was not a good time to sit on.
Yeah, I feel like the Game of Thrones never even like mentioned that.
It was literally described like in the books as basically a pile of swords.
Yeah.
Like it's not even really a seat. It's sort of like,
It looks
especially
gnarly in this prequel. I guess they sort of like
that's cool. Actually.
Yeah, I think they 200 years earlier was even more brutal. It's very cool looking. Aesthetically, it's awesome. But yeah, I just hope the show contains its like focused sort of structure. Like I hope it just stays in King's Landing and doesn't venture out too far. And I just hope it continues to, if it's going to incorporate marginalized characters, it needs to really think about what it's doing there and not sort of like fall into the traps that the previous show had,
where you like introduce the Martells and then don't know what the fuck to do with them, so you make them weirdly incestuous lesbians and then kind of don't do anything with them again and kill them off.
Yes.
Okay.
Or the whole what Sophie Turner's character, what was her name? She was Sansa Stark. The whole Sansa Stark arc in the later half of the series. Yeah. That was a glaring misstep for sure. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's this the same composer is doing the score, and they do some interesting like he does sort of an incorporation of old Game of Thrones sort of like rhythms and also just like new stuff too that's like specific to the show. And like I mentioned, Michael Sapochnik, he directed a bunch of the more pivotal Game of Thrones episodes throughout the years, and so the look and feel of it feels very much like Game of Thrones, and that's obviously what they're going for here. And I know I mentioned to you like I was hoping the show would like separate itself from Game of Thrones and like form its own identity. But honestly, like after seeing this episode, if it can just sort of stick to the good elements of Game of Thrones, I'm okay with that too. Because those elements are good for a reason. They hook you for a reason,
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe I'll return to it later on the season if things change.
Sure. So we got more bad HBO news.
Yes. Like you were talking about earlier with like Better Call Saul and resorting to piracy because things get removed all the time. Although this feels, what they're doing in HBO Max feels distinct from what's happened in the past. Like obviously shows get canceled all the time.
Right.
This is shows that have already in a lot of cases been completed and are like originals for that platform that are being removed so that like residuals don't have to be paid out. So like HBO Max is continuing to like not gut, but that's a bit extreme, but like remove a lot of series and movies that it has the rights to because they were at one point HBO and HBO Max originals. Yeah. And they're taking them off the platform for that reason that they won't have to like pay any more for the use of them. And so some of these are by all accounts like beloved series. Like there's a lot of animation on this list. Like
they're completely destroying animation
for sure. Infinity Train is I think one of the most well known and well beloved shows.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of them so dirty that shows that even had episodes on YouTube like officially are being removed.
Wow.
They're like going like scorched earth with a lot of these.
Man. And so
like a lot of the creators of like these animated shows are just saying like, yeah, please just go steal this because it'll be like lost media otherwise.
Yeah. I forget which one it was, but there was one creator who had to ask after I guess the show was in post-production or maybe even completed before it aired, had to ask for a physical like copy of their series or movie or whatever it was, just to have it in the event that something like this happens. and that it could potentially be lost and you couldn't access it, which is just wild. The idea that like you're the creator or something and you need to like ask for a backup just to preserve your own creation. There's a lot of stuff on here that's a bummer. Like Sesame Street, man. Yeah. The Elmo talk show. That was like a highlight of the HBO Max launch.
Yeah, they don't want to fucking pay Big Bird, man. I don't know what the fuck the deal is.
Sucks. One of my favorite HBO series in recent years is Mrs. Fletcher, which is Tom Perrotta, one of the two co-creators of The Leftovers. This was his next series for HBO after The Leftovers. And it starred Catherine Hahn. It was this really excellent half-hour limited series. And it's gone now. And like, so Tom Perrotta is responsible for, I don't think this is like an exaggeration, the most critically adored HBO series ever in The Leftovers, right?
Yeah.
Just got the platform so many accolades, and then has this show that he made afterwards, which is also amazing, just like completely just disappears. Which is a real bummer. Like it's such a great show. Like Catherine Hahn's amazing in it. She plays like this mother of a college student who's going away for the first time, and so the focus is on her. It's on her like sex life, while also like combining that with her son at college, and he has his own sort of problematic sex life. He's a problematic character, and it's exploring all sorts of like themes about sexuality and consent and age and dynamics and all sorts of things, and it was very, very good. But now you can't watch it because it's not there anymore.
Unless your co-host tells you to watch it like 3 years ago and you download it to your Plex server and you haven't watched it yet.
Oh, so you have it. You've preserved Mrs. Fletcher.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Don't delete that one. But yeah, it's like these creators put their passion into these projects, and they just get tossed aside for the most trivial monetary reasons. It sucks. It is very bleak. I hate it.
Yeah, apparently this Zaslav guy, he's a big fan of the home renovation shows, and so he wants to pivot to that.
Yeah, he's big on reality TV. He sees very little value in scripted art because I guess it's more expensive to make and doesn't bring in as much money. Sounds like a fucking loser to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick Moogle.
Yes.
Yeah, so there was a Final Fantasy 14 patch. It's taken over my life again.
In a good way, or?
In a way. Yeah. Mostly because so apparently all the crafters stopped playing like with us, and so now I'm the crafter. And so I'm making everybody in their mother's gear sets. So that's fun.
So is that something you do? Like, how does that work? You do this on your own time, or?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, who else's time?
Well, no, like you have to like grind out the game on your own, and then you just give them stuff, gear and stuff, or is it? I don't know.
I don't like gathering in the game. Okay. Mostly because the materials that you need for like in the game stuff are all on timers. And so you have to like go to a website and see when things are up, and then go to them in game before the timer runs out and collect them. And I hate that. I hate things being on timers. So I don't gather. So I'm like, yeah, I'll craft your shit, but you got to give me all the materials for it. So that's what's going on. Because before, for the raid team, I was crafting. We had a crafter, but like they changed jobs or whatever, and they got busy. And so, they weren't able to craft as much anymore. So I started crafting, and I was crafting everybody's potions and food for raids. And so I was doing that for the last couple raid tiers. But this time I got roped into doing everybody's gear, which is, it's been fun. I've been up at like 1 a.m. since the patch dropped, like every night, which is like late for me. Just doing people, like I've had to actually like write down people's orders because now people are getting specific, or somebody's like, here, I could even open it. So, oops, hit the mic. Let's see. So, this guy wanted his left side, which is like your armor pieces, but no weapon. And then this one wanted healer pants and a ring, a full Reaper set, a tank set with no weapon, no gloves, and only one ring. Somebody just wanted tank boots. Somebody wanted Reaper pants and boots. And then I had to do a sage set. Yeah. And I did all of that before I even crafted my fucking own set of gear.
So everyone can't get their own gear. That's a time thing. Like, they just don't have the time to do it.
Well, so you have to like level up your own crafters to 90, which not a lot of people do.
Oh, okay.
And then you need to have an end game crafting set, which you have to either buy or make yourself with a previous tier crafting set. Then what you have to do is something called pentamelding, which means you put materia into it. And in this game, materia are basically just like gems or whatever that give stat boosts. And pentamelding means you put more materia into a piece of gear than is normally allowed. So gear normally has a certain number of slots, but you can put more slots into crafted gear. The only problem is that the more like you want to put in, it only gives you a percentage chance to put it in. So now it's a gotcha game of being able to pentameld your gear. And so like it starts off, okay, this is now 17% chance to get this in. Then if that succeeds, the next one is a 10% chance. Then it's a 7% chance. Then the final one is a 5% chance to put it in. And materia, like crafting materia is expensive. And if you get unlucky, like I did this time, you will just blow through stacks and stacks of it in order to pentameld everything. And you need to pentameld it in order to do these endgame crafted sets and endgame potions and endgame food. So I had to quickly do that because it was like I was the only crafter that was going to be able to do this shit.
That makes sense.
And so I blew through a lot of cash in order to pentameld, in order to craft everybody's gear.
Yeah, so not everybody's equipped to do this. It's not a matter of like, oh, they don't have the time throughout the week to do it. It's just like you have the stuff that...
Yeah, you have to have the money and the fucking mental fortitude to do it. So, yeah. But like once you're pentamelded and you're set, you're good. And then you need to go like make a fucking crafting macro. So you can just hit a button and then you like kind of auto craft. So, yeah. That's what I've been doing. There's actually supposed to be fun stuff in the patch.
What a surprise.
Yeah, like there's the new raid. The normal mode is out. The Savage comes out on Tuesday. They delayed it this time, which actually fucking thank God, because I would not have been able to craft the gear in time to do it on release if it came out the same fucking day. So yeah, the normal mode, it's pretty fun. There's some unique shit. There's a new dungeon. There's always a new dungeon every major patch. It's okay. It's a fucking dungeon. Island Sanctuary is finally out. Getting mixed signals about it. Our Eorzean correspondent, who was looking forward to it very much, is actually down on it because apparently you have to min-max it in order to have fun, or that's at least what she says. And so there's spreadsheets involved because I guess you can't play this game without spreadsheets.
Yeah, I was going to say there's always spreadsheets.
I haven't been able to touch it yet because I'm too busy crafting. So there's that. There's a new extreme fight. There's a new Unreal fight, which is whenever they take an older extreme from like Heaven's Ward or older content and then scale it up to be level 90, so it's current. And so we touched that. We had to get some pickup people, so we didn't clear it, but I think the next time we try it, we'll be able to clear it. So there's that. It's just a very busy time, especially now that we're gonna raid on Tuesday, the Savage. And I'm switching. I'm switching off of Astro. Because they didn't give it quality of life. Okay, I'm gonna go on a rant.
All right. I'm always expecting this stuff.
I'm gonna give it a. So, a couple months back, they claimed that they were going to, for this patch, rework Astrologian and Dragoon, two jobs that have a fucking lot of button bloat. Dragoons were not excited. They're weird. They like the job, even though it's janky as fuck and has way too many buttons. But they like the way it plays.
House of the Dragoon.
Yeah, there you go. That's basically what the Heaven's Ward expansion is, honestly. So Dragoons were like dreading it. They didn't want to get it reworked and see it gutted like Summoner and like Samurai, or like Ninja, honestly. And Astro players like, okay, how are they going to fuck it up this time? Meanwhile, and I've been saying it since the expansion launched, all they need to do is put the last expansion's card system in and make Minor Arcana one button. And so you don't have to fucking mod it to be one button. Then a month passes and they say, okay, it's going to be really hard to explain the changes that we're going to do to Astro and Dragoon. So we're going to save them for the next expansion.
Huh.
What? What the fuck is that?
That's so weird. And it's not that it's hard to implement them. It's explaining them.
They said that it would be hard to explain why they're doing the changes.
Huh. That's I don't think I've ever heard it phrased that way.
So they're not going to do them until the next expansion, which will be next year, like a year and a half.
Yikes.
Maybe. What the fuck is that shit? This job, like, is broken, basically. Like, So that's what they said. The excuse doesn't make sense. Either the rework is ready or it isn't.
Yeah.
I smell the biggest bullshit of my life.
Yeah, it doesn't really add up there.
Honestly. So Astro is not getting reworked for this patch. I'm like, okay, fine. Are you going to give it any fucking quality of life? Any quality of life whatsoever? The answer is not really. No. So they did finally make Minor Arcana one button, which should have been at fucking release 8 months ago. Why it was 2 buttons is just beyond me.
Yeah, that's okay though, because you have your reflex skills that are going to be really tuned and ready for it.
Dude, the job gives me carpal tunnel. It's unbelievable.
Like, you have to put that in the experiment notes.
Maybe, yeah. Like, the problem with the job is that it is so fucking busy and clunky during burst phases, and the game is all about burst phases now. They've made it that way. So are they going to address that? No, not at all, not whatsoever. So they've made Minor Arcana one button. Okay, fine. Thank God. I don't have to mod it now in order to be able to just press one button to do one fucking action. Why it was 2 buttons for one action. Jesus Christ. Then the other change, which I thought was basically a way to stealth bring back in an old action called sleeve draw. So the way Astro cards work is you draw cards and then you play them. Drawing a card gives you a sign. There are 3 different signs. You want to try to get the 3 different signs. You don't want duplicates, really. Sleeve draw, the way it worked in Shadowbringers after it was changed in order to work properly, after that took until the fucking end of the expansion, was you use sleeve draw, you're guaranteed to get a sign that you don't have already. So it was basically a way to guarantee that you always got 3 different signs. Right now, with the way that they fucking changed redraw charges, you can only redraw a card once. So you always get duplicates. You always get fucking duplicates. And it fucking sucks. It's fucking clunky. So now they've changed it to if you redraw, you will not get the same sign that you just drew. At first I thought this meant, okay, you can't get duplicates anymore. No, it just means you can't get the same sign you just had. So you can still get duplicates, you just can't get back-to-back duplicates. This changes fucking nothing. That changes absolutely nothing.
What does it just make it like marginally less probable that you'll get a duplicate because they're not back-to-back? No. No, it changes absolutely nothing. It's the most pointless change I've ever fucking seen. I've ever seen in a game. It changes literally nothing. I sound like I'm being like over dramatic and like, you know, like exaggerating this. I can't overstate how little this changes. Yeah, but how does it compare to the vision
nothing
in Mad? Yeah.
So I'm fed up. I'm not playing Astro.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Even though it's my favorite fucking healer. It's clunky. It hurts my hands to play. And they apparently are either saving changes that they have, or they don't know what the fuck they're doing with it until 7.0, where they'll butcher it again. This was a job that was functional last expansion, by the way.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was fucking fine. It wasn't ideal. It was ideal in Stormblood. That's when it was ideal. But it was functional last expansion. Now it's a fucking disaster zone.
Man.
So I'm on fucking White Mage. Anyway. That's Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, man.
It's a game I play for enjoyment.
Yes, it sounds like it. It sounds like you're having a great time. It's not work. It's not a job. Definitely.
No, it's not. Even though I'm taking orders and fulfilling them. And yeah. But yeah, I'll try to stream raids, especially now that I don't have to mod my game, and so I don't have to showcase mods, and people will report me for modding my game. So there's that. But this is Did It All for the Moogle. It's a segment where we talk about the latest and greatest in Final Fantasy XIV news, and also sometimes Limp Bizkit news whenever the need shall arise. And wouldn't you know it, there's Limp Bizkit news.
Yes, there is. Exciting news as well. I think this is the first time I've genuinely been excited about Fred Durst-related announcements in the history of this podcast. Do you have the article out? I don't have it up.
I do.
So this is the TV show from a podcast favorite filmmaker, Jane Schoenbrunn. I say that because we talked about her directorial debut, We're All Going to the World's Fair, a couple months ago. And so this is the announcement for her new TV series, and it has a lot of familiar faces in it.
This IndieWire article says it's a film, but it's called I Saw the TV Glow.
Oh, you know what? So that got me confused.
It's confusing.
So it's a film. Yeah. It's a film. Yeah, you're right. I knew that, and then I forgot.
No, it's okay. The name is kind of confusing. But yeah, this cast is pretty ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Justice Smith, Bridget Lundy Payne.
Yeah, they're both
Helena
the stars,
Howard.
Those two, and they're both excellent as well.
Lindsay Jordan of Snail Mail. We have, quote, Limp Bizkit musician and director Fred Durst. Danielle Deadweiler, Haley Doll's Sloppy Jane featuring Phoebe Bridgers, which is interesting. It's pretty fucking nuts.
The speculation here, I think Jane Schoenbrunn had replied to a tweet. Somebody was like, you should bring back like artists and bars performing during TV shows or whatever. And so now the speculation is that all these musicians that are listed here are going to be like performing during the film, right? Like they'll be in like that's
the easy thought. Yeah.
Especially the Sloppy Jane thing. That makes sense because I think Phoebe Bridgers has like come out on stage during Sloppy Jane sets in the past. So that would make a lot of sense. I don't know what Fred Durst's acting chops are like. So, you know.
I mean, have you seen the video for Nookie?
I have not. I don't know. I haven't subjected myself to that. Maybe during the Halloween season if I want to see something horrific. But yeah, I was already going to be watching her next project, but this is just all the more exciting. I don't think there's any like indication when this is coming out or anything. I'm sure it's pretty early in the stages of production.
Probably, yeah.
If this was a TV series and with all these artists on board, I was thinking about like Twin Peaks: The Return, how you could have like a different artist performing at a bar like every episode. Because that was like basically just like all of David Lynch's favorites, right? That he got to be in the show. So, but yeah, either way, this is going to be exciting. The more I think about We're All Going to the World's Fair, the more I love it, really. I want to rewatch that one of these days. It's very good. But yeah, that's the latest in Fred Durst news.
Yeah, nice. So teased this during the live show, but you were playing some Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, this really good game from Massive Monster, I think is the studio. I would describe it as like a cross between Animal Crossing on the one hand and like a roguelite dungeon crawler on the other hand. It's like a combination of those two things. Like, so you are a lamb who is about to be sacrificed for a cult, but you are sort of like saved by this I forget what his name is, but he's like this like demonic presence. And so now you owe it to him to like build a cult of your own. And that's how the game starts. And so you recruit followers by like saving them during your like dungeon crawl. And then you have this big like plot of land that you build your cult. And it's you gather resources, you build structures and like farms and like sleeping quarters for your cult followers. And there's just like a lot of things you can like unlock and build, which is like kind of where like the Animal Crossing comparison comes in. It's like a very twisted version of that. Like if Tom Nook were a cult leader, which like in some ways you can kind of view him as sort of like this cult of like capitalism, you know?
Sure. And I think there was actually like more comparisons to him as a cult leader, like especially with the latest Animal Crossing, you know, like he sends you off to this island, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like that sequence at the beginning where like you gather up all your new campers and have that weird toast at the sunset.
Very true.
Yeah, that was kind of
And
comfy.
like, what are you doing on the Animal Crossing islands other than making it more like beautiful and like enticing for his business, right? So in a lot of ways in Animal Crossing, you're doing Tom Nook's bidding, and your followers in Cult of the Lamb are doing your bidding. So there's just like so many. I've played for a handful of hours, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface of like the amount of stuff you can unlock, and like the different options, like bordering from like normal to sadistic that you can like put your followers through, or because there's like rituals and sermons, and you can go around like blessing your followers to level them up and make them more loyal to you, and you have to make sure they're well fed and rested. They poop all over the place that you have to clean up.
Nice.
But yeah, so like that's all happening in the sort of like resource management side. But then you go to the dungeon crawl side, and you're taking out these heretics, and you're trying to defeat them one by one. If you die, you keep all the stuff that you've earned along the way, but you the only consequence for death is you lose some loyalty from your followers that you have to earn back. But otherwise, it's not really a roguelite because you hold on to everything that you've gained, which I like. I like that a lot as somebody who dies in video games quite often. You always feel like you're progressing. You really don't feel like you're like losing grounds unless you're like wildly mismanaging things, which could happen. But I feel like it should become more efficient as time goes on, as you gain more followers and you sort of appoint them to different like tasks on your land and stuff.
Is there a failure state? Like if you lose like all your followers or something?
Luckily I haven't gotten there, but there's like a meter that like a loyalty meter that can run out if you don't maintain it properly. And I don't know what happens if that happens. Maybe it's like game over. But yeah, like your followers can die. But there are also ways to spin like horrific things to your advantage. Like, so like what I unlocked is this like ritual or sermon that you can make your followers believe in the afterlife. So whenever a follower dies, they won't take it very hard, you know? Normally if a follower dies, that you take a real hit in terms of like loyalty, but now if you have your followers believe in the afterlife, it's not so bad because they're going to a better place.
Sure.
But then you also have to like unlock like burial places so that you don't have like rotting flesh just like hanging around, and you know you can build an outhouse where so they're not just like pooping all over the place, and it's more sanitary.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
There's fishing. You can go and fish. There's just all sorts of cool stuff. There's tarot cards, which is how you unlock different like permanent attributes and buffs and stuff. You unlock the one way it does resemble a roguelike is every time you enter the dungeon, you are given a choice of like random like weapon choices. But there are permanent unlocks where you're going to get better and better choices as you progress, you know, like starting weapons and whatnot. So it's really fun. I love the gameplay loop. I'm more into the resource management element than I am the dungeon crawling. Like the combat's fun, it's fast, it's responsive, and the weapons are cool, but like I don't know. I prefer one side of the game to the other. But they're both good, you know? Yeah, it's just a fun indie game. It's very clever. It's cleverly written. You can like customize all your followers to look however you want them to. There's a bunch of different forms. They're all different like animal forms. They all have their own like attributes, some things that they're good at. Like some are better at like faith-based things, so you will have them just worship you around the clock, and that's how like you level yourself up. Some are better at gathering resources. Like they all have their strengths and weaknesses. Like some will really take it badly if one of their fellow followers dies. Stuff like that, you know. There's like a lot of variety in terms of like attributes and stuff. It's really cool. It's so detailed. The art style is really cool. Yeah, I don't have anything negative to say about it so far. It's very like it's bleak, like it's funny, right? Because you have these very like cute animal characters, and even the lamb himself has this like smile on his face, but while you're like moving around in combat and stuff, he'll look very devious. So yeah, it's like this contrast between like the cute animals and like the horrific things that they might be put through.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's taken a stab at like organized religion, and it's tackling a lot of those themes, and that's all very interesting. So yeah, it's very well realized, and they've put a lot of thought behind all the systems and the way everything kind of works together. So I recommend it. It's very good.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
And it's on like everything too.
Yeah. I think whenever I get my Steam Deck, that's like probably one of the first things I want to play.
Absolutely. I think it would work perfectly on Steam Deck for the type of game that it is.
Speaking of weird rituals, I saw this earlier in the week. This is from NASA, and well, I'll play it and then maybe explain a little bit. So, that's apparently what a black hole sounds like.
Oh.
They explain that the misconception that there's no sound in space originates because most space is a vacuum, providing no way for sound waves to travel. But a galaxy cluster has so much gas that we've picked up actual sound, and this is amplified, and it's a black hole.
Cool.
Yeah, and it sounds, I don't know.
It kind of sounded to me like a ghost that's like crying out for help.
Maybe. Who can say? But quite mysterious.
I mean, you said that this is NASA, right? So this is not the Space Force.
Right.
Because if it was the Space Force, I would have maybe mistaken the audio for like, I don't know, Donald Trump's like stomach growling or something. I don't know.
Yeah. If it was the Space Force, they would have tried to like launch a nuke into the black hole.
So just to see what happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I'm not one of those people that's like, wow, cool space from like the early like 2010s. Remember all that like sort of shit?
Is that not still happening with all the fascination around those photos that came out recently?
I think to an extent, but like, do you remember like all those like Facebook accounts that were just like called like I fucking love science? You know, remember all that shit?
That.
And like Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, that whole thing. But I still thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is. It sounds like it could be used. So what are the? Are there like any copyrights for the soundbite there?
I hope to Christ not.
Okay. I was gonna say that could be like background for like an atmospheric like horror scene or something.
Yeah. I'll have to see if one of our favorite artists samples it in some way. I was going to talk about the student loan thing, but we're almost at 2 hours.
I mean, it's topical. We might as well touch on it, right?
Okay. Yeah. So they got Sleepy Joe to wake up and do something.
Sort of.
Sort of. He kind of did something. Yeah. So, I mean, 10K. All right, fine. I'll take it. But
no,
like,
fuck that.
Yeah.
You said in the show notes, it's the bare minimum. It really is.
It's the bare minimum. Yeah.
He has
still owes me like $2,000.
Every capability to wipe it out entirely.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do for the big corporations and the rich people.
That's what they do for the banks. It's what they do for Tom fucking Brady's TB12 PPP loan. Yep. It's fucking criminal. And it's just more kicking the can down the road too with this bullshit. They wait until the last fucking minute. They wait until there's like 3 months to an election. And it's like, okay, now fine. Now you don't have to pay until January again. It's like, okay, well, fucking whatever.
Yeah, just like thinking about the psychological toll on people who don't know if they have to repay all this money on September 1st and it's like the end of August right now, you know, like waiting that long without an answer. And like they've consistently done stuff like this, waited till the very last minute. Yeah. It's just, it's ridiculous.
It's because they have to decide how many hoops they want to put through in their minds. Oh, is it going to be 150K or 125K before you don't get it? Like, whatever. If you're making that much, the debt isn't a problem to you. And if it is, you live in like New York or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but I just love the right-wing talking point that this is like helping rich kids.
Oh, I see. I've heard the talking point where people I've seen this so many times.
And this is like an attack against the working class. The working class is now paying for rich kids to go to school.
Oh, yeah. No, I've seen the one where it's like, well, this isn't fair to all the people who have already paid off their student loans.
Yeah, it's like, motherfucker, you're fine. You paid for it.
Yeah, and I saw on Twitter, I like an unofficial, like, the Death Star public relations, and they tweeted, they were like, so we were going to stop blowing up planets, but that wouldn't be fair to the planets we've already blown up. So yeah. We're just going to keep going. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, you're fucking fine. If you could afford to pay off your loans, you're fucking fine.
Yeah.
The real issue is that this doesn't fix the root cause. Whatsoever.
No,
so
like, people are still going to be accruing much more than 10K in debt.
Yeah, like my little brother is just starting school. Like, this doesn't do shit for him whatsoever. This doesn't fix interest rates. This doesn't do anything for him. And it barely does anything for me. This is a fucking dent. Like, this is probably great for people that have like 20K, you know, cuts them in half. Okay. But yeah, no, this is barely anything.
Yeah.
And of course they want it to be celebrated up and down, and they want my vote in November.
No, I will not applaud them for at all whatsoever for this. This is not... Especially
when this fucker said that, like, this was going to be his day one thing, you know? Like, fuck off. And it's 20K for Pell Grants, whatever the fuck that is. This is the first time I'm hearing about this shit, except for that really bad Kamala tweet where she was like, she was going to give 15K or something to Pell Grant recipients that started a business within 5 years. Or the most ridiculous hoop jumping shit was going to be her platform if she was president. You remember that?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Just the most ridiculous shit.
This is what you get when you elect somebody in the center who, by wanting to not piss anybody off, ends up not actually accomplishing anything.
Right.
And still pisses everybody off.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, another thing I saw was like, so the people that are complaining about, there are people complaining for the opposite reason that like we're complaining, that like, oh, nobody deserves this type of like break, which is, I mean, fuck you. But somebody was like, where were these people complaining when the state of Texas offered $10,000 for people to come forward about illegal abortions? You remember that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Putting like bounties.
Yeah, the abortion
the
bounty.
Bounties. Yeah. So.
Yeah. New York State had a fucking COVID anti-masker bounty. Like, how many billions did we just fucking send to Ukraine? Like, what the fuck? We bail out the banks. We bailed out every celebrity's LLC for the pandemic for them to lie about how many employees they have. Just completely wipe the slate clean there.
I think, speaking of New York City, I think New York is funding a new Buffalo Bills stadium, right?
Of course, yeah, all this shit.
It's just the list goes on and on and on.
All this shit.
It's only when it could potentially help the working class, just regular people, maybe marginalized people. That's when people are outraged by it, and it's very transparent why they are outraged about it. And yeah,
the perception of what the working class is so fucking warped. Yeah. It's so fucking warped. The working class are the people that have these goddamn loans.
Yeah.
Rich people don't have these loans.
No.
And if they do, they're using them as collateral for business transactions. That's what they do with debt. That's how they use debt. We don't have that luxury. Right. We can't do fucking trades on our debt.
Right.
That debt means I have to save for the debt, and I can't afford to fucking rent an apartment because the rent is too goddamn expensive. We have a housing crisis. We have a debt crisis. God forbid that I get into an accident, then I'll have medical debt.
Yeah, no, everyone
I'm fucked 6 ways from Sunday.
No, everyone is just like one like medical crisis away from being just completely screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The air conditioning in my car doesn't work. I can't get that fixed.
Yeah.
Like this fucked 6 ways from Sunday.
Yeah.
There's no helping it.
And then I see Joe Biden on TV, and he is lashing back at the people we just talked about who are complaining about even just the 10K. And it's like, you are trying to be seen as a hero here, but you really haven't accomplished much of anything.
No, the motherfucker still owes me $2,000.
Oh, from what? From
the pandemic. Yeah. They fucking lied about how much they're gonna give out. He still owes me $2,000. The old bitch. He still owes me money. It's unreal. It's unreal. So yeah, I'll take the 10K. I'm still gonna wait for the rest. I'm gonna wait for the rest. See me in January, Joe. See me in January. This is a dent. This is a dent in what I got cooking.
I guess like
it's fucking bleak.
Maybe I'm just like riffing here, but I guess like and maybe I shouldn't be doing that because I'm not.
Oh, we're riffing. This is off the dome.
I'm not the most informed when it comes to like economics and stuff, but like the way capitalism works, right? Don't a large subset of like people under capitalism need to be struggling in order for it to succeed? Yeah. So like by canceling only 10,000 and not wiping it out like they could, they're like, we're doing you a favor, but not enough to actually get out from under the pile of that's been like thrown on top of you. Like it's like, we're gonna give you this, but you're still in the grasp of capitalism, and you can be used in the same way because you need to like, you know what I'm saying?
It's the same reason they don't increase the minimum wage.
Yes. It's why homelessness exists, because there's no reason for somebody to be unhoused in this very, very wealthy country other than as like a fear practice. Like, look what could happen to you if you don't continue.
It's not even that. They don't care that the homeless exist. They just don't want to see them.
Yeah.
That's why they round them up. Did you see the take on Twitter a couple weeks back about this crazy lady that wanted to create camps for the homeless?
Jesus.
And everybody's like, oh yeah, you want to concentrate them into a camp?
Oh my God.
And she doubled down.
Of course.
Oh, so you want to create like a sort of a concentration camp.
Right.
The fuck is wrong with you people? But yeah, no, that's what they're doing. And you know they can wipe out all of it because that's what they did with what's it called? Like these scammy trade schools. They've been wiping out debt from that last few months.
You know, what I'm trying to say is that capitalism requires people to be exploited, and in order to maintain that like status quo, you can't relieve everybody of their debt because you need to keep exploiting them. So don't give them a leg to stand on, you know? Yeah,
but they're so fucking short-sighted that they don't realize if we had more money, we buy more shit.
Yeah. Which is helpful in a recession, which I'm pretty sure is what we're in, right? I'm no expert. Yeah, it's very. It's
like the debt is like, it's like, to us it's everything, but to like them and these banks and these financiers, it's so fucking meaningless. They just swap and trade it on a whim. Like, if you are one of these loan companies, you can just decide that you don't want to do it anymore. You can just decide that. You loaned out this money. Lots of people owe it to you. Oh, I don't care about that anymore. Here, I'll just give it to another company. They can take it now. And now we don't do business.
Yeah.
And that's just it. That's what happened to me. My loan service provider was like, yeah, we're done with this. Here's your new guy.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this shit? We'll contact you in 6 months to talk to you about how to create an account. So like the fucking during this pause or whatever, the interest rate was paused too. So say I had the money to be making payments interest free on my fucking gargantuan balance. I literally couldn't do that because I didn't know who the fuck I was supposed to be paying. So what the fuck is that shit?
Yeah, that's wild.
Why does it even exist if I don't even know who I'm paying it to?
And like, this is all just even beyond the simple fact that when college kids get into all this debt, they are literally just still kids. They're teenagers.
My dad just asked me, why did you even sign that? I'm like, I didn't know what the fuck to do. Mom gave me a piece of paper.
You were like 18 or 19 or whatever.
If I didn't sign it, I didn't go to school. What the fuck am I supposed to do? My parents told me that was the only school I could go to because they gave me a tiny little bit of money. They gave me a little scholarship. It was the only school I can go to. So I did it. Now I am way past my eyeballs in debt that I will never get out from under unless it's wiped.
Right. So are liberals like applauding this? Like, I don't really know
I don't know. Some of them actually hate it. Like the fact that he's even doing it.
Because, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
But I mean, those are the rich liberals that paid their shit and want to step on everybody else. So fuck them. Fuck all of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, it's so meaningless. And people talk about, this is just the money printer. It's not. That's not how it works. The fucking government deficit is meaningless. It's made up. Who are they in debt to?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
It's made up. Who are they paying off? Themselves.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. And guess what? They say, taxes, you're paying through this, your taxes are going to go up. motherfucker, this is poor people. This is lower income. We don't pay a lot in taxes because we're lower income.
Yeah.
If we tax the rich more, this wouldn't be an issue. Take a couple bill out of Bezos's pocket. Wipe it all.
Yeah.
Job done.
It really is like very simple.
It's so fucking simple. It's so fucking simple.
Any motives they have for not doing it are not out of like a lack of resources, obviously. It's something much more sinister than that. It's more systemic than that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, this country hates like socialists so much, but they really do everything they can to to like get people to become them, because like every action that the government takes, it's like it just all it does is prop up socialism as the obvious like correct worldview, because you know what I mean, like you have to live in this, and it's like they show
that it fucking works, because that's what they do to fucking big business, to fucking banks, to fucking billionaires. They get socialism.
Right. Yeah,
they get it. The rest of us don't. They fucking get it. All the government gets free fucking healthcare.
Yeah.
Right? They get free benefits. They get a salary. They get free security for life. They get it. We don't.
Right. And then
that's the racket.
Right. And the people who actually like make the country run are all the ones that don't get all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like those are all the people operating inside the system that is like rigged against them, but that they're essential for it to continue.
You want to know another just horrific take? Yeah. Some fucking Congress dipshit said that this was bad because it now takes away a recruiting tool from the military.
I saw that on like an accidentally based Twitter thing. Yeah, they like post stuff like that where they the like the right wing people accidentally make the point.
Yeah, like buddy, you're being too obvious. Yeah. You're being too fucking obvious that you're keeping people poor so they join the military and either die. Holy fuck.
That's kind of like, I wasn't articulating it, but that's what I mean by like keeping people poor so that they have to take these jobs working under like the wealthy, right? And like just making the wealthy wealthier off of their labor.
They don't do shit. That's why they don't do shit about work for hire. That's why they don't do shit about scammy gig economy shit. That's why they don't do shit about the minimum wage.
That Saints Row game seems to not have been reviewed very well, but the one positive review I saw was from Polygon, which coincidentally is like my favorite video game website. And they talked about that game as like a commentary on the gig economy, which actually makes me interested to check it out at some point.
Yeah, I think the only thing is like it's like horrifically broken.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. So that's going to be like down the line, maybe when it's like cheap and maybe patched up and stuff. Yeah. I've also heard like a lot of the backlash against that game, whether it's actually good or not. A lot of the backlash is coming from their the change in like tone and like ideology behind it. I've heard so many times I've seen the term woke used as a negative against Saints Row this week.
It's just culture war bullshit.
It really is, yeah.
You see a brown person and it's woke. Just nonsense.
It is so messed up.
Absolute nonsense. Oh my god.
But anyway, yeah, I don't applaud Biden whatsoever for this.
No, it's barely anything.
If it wasn't like, if he wasn't struggling in terms of like polling and stuff, he probably wouldn't have done it at all.
Probably not. No.
That's all it comes down to.
Like, bitch, you said you were going to do this like immediately. Yeah. God, wipe it and then see if I bring my ass outside in November.
Well, would you vote if he wiped it entirely?
I would be more inclined, to be honest with you. I would be. He wants to be the next fucking FDR. That would be something.
Yeah, because like this is something that directly affects you, and it's something that you have prioritized as like an issue that you want to see. Like when they promised it back then, that's why you voted in 2020. I mean, it's not the only reason, but basically. I mean, everything is been like half-assed. I mean, everything down to like that. What was that like policing bill that they trotted out early on in the administration that basically doesn't actually change anything systemically? Well, 'cause he
said we need to fund them.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We need to fund them.
I mean, that's insanity. But like, yeah, like all the measures that they take are, like you said about this, like it doesn't actually get at the roots of the issue. It's like a used Band-Aid, you know? It's like, it's not even a proper Band-Aid. It's like a used Band-Aid. It's a nothing. It's nothing.
It's the same thing with their infrastructure shit. The same thing with their, you know, clean energy shit. It's just nothing. Like the clean energy or whatever has provisions for fracking for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see if we're around, you know? All right. Nice.
But it's another thing that looks good
like,
on the surface level until you actually read the details of it.
Yeah, and some kind of some kind of rebates for electric cars, but who can afford the electric cars in the first place to even wait around for a rebate?
Yeah.
So who is this for? Like, what the fuck is? Just nothing. Just a bucket of nothing. What was the Dennis Eckersley thing about the pirates? What do you call the pirates? Because that's basically the Biden administration.
I don't know. How long ago was this?
A week or two.
Oh, this was I must have missed this then.
Let me see.
You talk about a no-name lineup. There's no team like this. Love to see some of the service time. You add it all up. It's not much. Just came from Kansas City, seeing all those young kids. This is different, though. Doesn't it seem different? Did they have a lot of prospects they're playing over there?
And serious prospects.
Yes.
The guys who are going to be in the big leagues.
This is a hodgepodge of nothingness.
Stop depressing.
So that's the Biden administration. It's a hodgepodge of nothing.
Oh God, why did you show me that? I mean, I get it. It fits perfectly, but and it's all completely true. It's 100% true.
It's true.
I just don't like it
true.
put into words. I like to just let it exist and sort of just accept it as it is.
Yeah.
Which is the problem in this country.
Oh shit. I know we didn't get to your NHL stuff.
No, that's
We're
okay.
over
That's
2
quite
hours.
alright. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to us rant and rave about some important stuff and sometimes about Final Fantasy XIV balance changes. You never know what you're gonna get. We mentioned it, but check out the VOD from our second live stream show. Thankfully, nobody tuned in live because the audio balance was fucked up because I was too busy changing shit. But yeah, fixed it in post, so that's over up on YouTube. YouTube search for DeadEndRoad TV and you'll find it there. And check out our Irma Vep discussion because that was a good time. That's over in the podcast feed and also on YouTube. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at DeadEndRoad. Check out the Facebook at facebook.com/DeadEndRoadTV, twitch.tv/DeadEndRoadTV. We do a live show once a month, and I'll be streaming some Final Fantasy XIV because I am tethered to that game.
Get your orders in.
With all of my life force. Get your orders in. I can do pact makers, and now I can do, what it's called, Renaissance, whatever the fuck the new combat gear is. Yeah, get your orders in if you're on a North American server. And you can email us anything at all, like your thoughts on Boe Jiden's brand new $10,000 shiny bucks video at DeadEndRoad.co. Yeah, that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.